I understood that reference. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. I'm here with my good friend ENDALL BEALL. Once again, we're talking about defensive teams in 3v3. Guys, if you haven't seen the offensive discussion that we had, it wasn't that offensive. I hope, but we released that yesterday, or the previous day to this, and so that'll be in the video description. Otherwise, go check out ENDALL's channel. We're gonna be working on a collaboration that I'll be part of, at least for. He's gonna be talking about Galactic Legends and everything. Otherwise, we're leaving Galactic Legends out of both of these conversations. That being said, go sub ENDALL. Link in the video description. You'll be doing yourself a favor, guys. With all that said, ENDALL, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, really good. It's a great night to have this discussion. I'm looking forward to the defensive videos now after talking about the offensive ones. It's always more fun to do defensive videos because we've traditionally, both of us, the way that we play, we tend to keep the good stuff on defense.
Yeah, we just and we really do. That's our play style. I was a little sad. I'm like, wait, ENDALL said he went full efficiency. Like, that seems unnatural.
Yeah,
I like to see you just like,
yeah. And
just
I'll tell you, all the battles that I've lost, I think 60 to 70% of the battles that I've lost is because I tried to play efficiency and I failed miserably. My natural comfort style is going heavy defense and making my opponents drop battles or prevent from clearing.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's something I've always admired about you, and that's the style I try to emulate as well. So, you were really a big advocate of this dash team with Han and
Yes.
Chewie, and you like them on defense, I mean, I think before we even go into that team specifically, we should just acknowledge, like, you're gonna have to be pretty uncomfortable with some of the choices you make to place on defense, because now that we're placing so many teams, like, we have 17 teams for defense here, 17 for offense, and I left a ton that we just, like, of characters that we just didn't even use.
Yeah,
If you want to have an effective defense, you're gonna have to be placing some really strong teams, and that
exactly.
includes, like, your comfort zone with Han and Chewie, etc.
Exactly. I mean, traditionally, I've always kept Han and Chewie on offense. Like in the last 3v3, I would use them with the Wedge lead, with Kira lead. There's tons of different options. But with the addition of Dash, now Dash wasn't there last time. The addition of Dash actually creates a lot of very interesting possibilities. Now, Dash is traditionally very fast. You're going to have your Dash as 350, 360 speed. I personally keep my Dash as 350. Now, with a 20 additional speed bonus, your Dash is going to be at 370. Han is going to shoot twice, and then Chewie is going to follow up with that as well. So your team is going to get 6% turn meter right off the bat, just because Dash's leadership. So a 350 Dash, who's at 370, will effectively be close to 400 speed to go right away, just because Han shoots first and gains a bunch of turn meter. So unless your team is 400 speed or more, the dash is going to go and apply daze and a bunch of other debuffs and do damage 3 times to 3 different enemies. So tons of different damage. So what's going to end up happening is all that damage that dash does is going to end up giving even more turn meter to Han and Chewie. And your Han, even if it's at 280 speed, he's going to effectively end up being at 350, 370 speed, just because of all the additional turn meter that is being generated by the multiple dash attacks at the beginning. So this team has got a ton of damage potential right out the gate, which is why I love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, the thing that I have trouble with is, like, okay, I put the Omicron on him, so you want him with Vander Chewie, typically, in
Yeah.
fives at least. And, you don't always have to do that. Of course, there are builds that are good without it. But in 3v3, you have to be really choosy. And I like how aggressive this team is, especially, like, you put it on defense. And I don't really know what team just beats it easily. I'm sure that there are a couple that
Yeah.
would find, but
Yeah, I mean, you could take into Sith trio. You can chance that if you've got high relic Sith trio. But remember that you won't have Barris in there to protect them, because if you plan to use Traya, Scion, and Nihilus because they've got so much synergy together. Without Barris
Right.
to give them that extra protection from Han, it could get dicey.
Right. Well, not to mention, like Dash suddenly has guard, and he's
Oh
doing
yeah,
a huge amount of damage, and
yeah,
like you're going to be taking a ton of turns, like you were talking about all the turn meter gain. Like your Han and Chewie are both going to get lots of turns. It's going to get ugly for that Traya squad
yeah, yeah,
potentially.
absolutely.
Okay, so there's this big question about how you distribute the 501st, and this is what we decided to play on because, frankly, so like the traditional Rex Fives Barris team is a good timeout team, and it's actually got some decent damage because you got the Rexecute. But at the same time, people just started taking Malak and soloing it for a 56.
Yeah.
So we decided not to include that team in this defensive builds
Yeah, and, and
conversation.
and that team is more or less solved. I mean, whether you use Rex lead or Fives lead along with Barris or even Barris lead, that team is more or less solved. You can use crew kinds of first order teams. You can use Malak, and there are tons of other options that you have. Plus, if you put General Skywalker with Arc Trooper and Echo, there's a very high chance that people can take a solo Wampa and just take care of him. The reason that Wampa really doesn't work in a 5v5 situation against Gas is because Rex can potentially execute him. But put gas with lesser clones without Rex in there, there's a very easy chance that it can be taken out by a Wampa.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And the other thing is, so General Skywalker, I really do like putting Arc Trooper and Echo with him because it's a cheaper one and it's generally more effective. But there is also the chance of someone using a Beskar Mando team with Han and Chewie, and that'll counter the General Skywalker plus Arc and Echo, and it has way less success, like dramatically less success against the Skywalker with Rex and Fives build. So, yeah, really like at the end of the day, I think we're gonna have to just bow to using this build for Skywalker, and then that leaves. I mean, the Shaak T with clones. People, there's been a lot of solutions to this, frankly, but it'll still steal banners a lot of times.
It will, and it can get tricky because you have to use a decent squad against it. If you try to get cheap on this, then Shakti gains so much turn meter and the amount of damage that Echo and Arc do, it can make things complicated if you
Yeah,
don't use the right team. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, they're it's fine. But this is one of the lesser defensive. Like this will be a rotation squad for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
All right, so this squad, man, I like it on offense or defense. You need a fast droidica one way or another.
Yeah, fast Droidica with a 50% speed bump, you're able to get ahead, do the special, allows Maul to go, and then Candra's does tons of assists and gains turn meter. He goes next and allows Maul to then go next with 5 stacks. So that's the key to this team is you force your opponent to come in with a team which is really really fast, like effectively 400 speed fast almost, to be able to outspeed the Droidica. Because if you don't do that, then this team is going to end up taking 5-6 turns, and Maul is going to take out one of your characters pretty comfortably.
Right. So I guess the main question I would have, like, I guess the way that you would counter this is it probably some Han and Chewie version, so you could just shoot droidica right away, and then it kind of shoots the team in the foot just a little bit at least.
Yeah, or potentially a team which stops turn meter generation, like potentially Hux. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean Hux is
Well,
not.
let's see.
Yeah, well Hux is the Droidica is going to go first in any case because
Yep.
he's not going to stop the 50% speed bump that Droidica gets. But Frenzy is probably going to be stopped by Hux because I think Frenzy that Maul has at the beginning is turn meter generation. So Hux, as long as Hux is there with advantage, Maul is not going to go after Droidica. But you still have to act fast and take the team out before they can get out of control.
Sure. So one option that you might look at too is if you want to use Maul separate from Lord Vader, which a lot of times you're going to be using him with him, but if you're using him separate, you can also he's very fast. Like he's not quite as fast as Cat, but he's kind of close. And so even with all like health and defense or whatever I have on him, the nonsense, health and offense, yeah, like I still have him at 318 speed. And you can make him. I've faced people with like 350, 360 speed mauls, where he can kind of be his own like
Mm.
droideka to start with, or frankly, I mean, you can have droideka go, and I don't know. I think if he's fast enough though, like Huck's lead teams are going to be a little bit scared of him regardless.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
So I guess we can do Commander Luke here next.
Yep, yep. This one is one of those, again, classic teams that a lot of people have been seeing on defense. I mean, since Han and Chewie are traditionally split from CLS in 3v3s, this team gave a lot of problem to a lot of people initially. It's been since then solved. A lot of people use JTR, the Tridian squad, and a few other options. But yeah, this team still requires a specific counter or two or three specific counters. And if you don't have those, like if you keep this at the back and you've already exhausted those characters, then this team can give a lot of problem.
This team alone has won me a ton of matches on defense because it surprises people. So one thing to keep in mind too, a lot of people lean on that Jedi Training Ray team to counter it. But if you can, we talked about in the offensive teams build discussion about how you mod those teams. You can actually mod this team to counter the Jedi
Yep.
Training Ray
Yep.
squad by putting like crit avoid arrow on Commander Luke, by putting a ton of tenacity on the squad.
Yeah. Yeah. And because there's so much of tenacity sharing which takes place, the stat sharing which happens, that it's all good in this team. All the tenacity that you can put is good in this team in 3v3.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this team is pretty good against Jedi Training Ray. If you mod them right, I've had a few gotchas against Jedi Training Rays. It's been really satisfying. I'm like, yep,
Oh yeah.
yep, you can't do it. So all right, this team, I'm so intrigued by it. Actually, this Qui Gon team because it's like it is potentially one of the very strongest teams out there. Period. Be with the Omicron,
Yeah.
except it can never ever enter the sphere of threatening a galactic legend.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why if it did good things against Galactic Legends, this team would be on offense for me. But because it doesn't do anything versus Galactic Legend, I'm always going to keep it on defense. And the beauty about this team is, Qui-Gon Jinn's Omicron is actually one of those Omicrons which actually increases in values in 3v3s. The beauty of
Mm-hmm.
this team is this team loses absolutely nothing. These three characters will do the same thing in 3v3 as they do in 5v5, maybe even more now because you've got fewer characters that you can take against it. You can't use Bad Batch against it. You have Qui-Gon Jinn's Omicron and the lead to give all the good stuff, all the bonuses and all that. And the bonuses don't depend on the number of characters on the team, unlike other Omicrons and other leads. They depend only on the presence of Qui-Gon Jinn. And the bonuses get amplified because Jedi Knight Anakin obviously gets additional bonus damage when people get below certain health, and you get additional damage when Qui-Gon Jinn dies. Plus, you have the stat boost from Ki-Adi-Mundi, which is coming in there, which is all great stuff. So even if Qui-Gon Jinn dies, you've got two great damage dealers that you need to take out with your three characters before it all goes to hell.
Yeah. Well, Kiadi Mundi, man, he's so fast on this team too. Like if
Oh
you if
yeah.
you give him a few extra, little nod to speed, he's plus 60 from the obvious stuff from the Zeta and from Qui Gon Jinn because you're Galactic Republic, etc. But then he also the non-obvious one is from his stance. Like you kind of have to look closely, and so he's plus 80 speed right now. Anakin
Yeah.
is plus 60 speed. Like this team, they're all on Red Bull. They all have wings. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
In fact, I'm very tempted to put my Omega on Cam to get him to taunt. But right now, I don't have the Omega that makes him taunt. But for this specific team, I think there's a very strong case to put the Omega in there, just so that you protect Anakin and Qui-Gon to a certain extent while Cam is taunting, and then just allows them to go ham.
It's so crazy, man, that you would actually put that Omega on. I already have it, so I'm jealous that you have the choice. All right, so we're not using Galactic Legends here, guys, and so everyone and their mom, and probably their mom's mom, has already thought of EP Mara Starkiller. Like that's the most obvious, and then you can also do fun things, with like Crew and Darth Vader and stuff. The thing that it just occurred to me while we were talking about, I'm like, what if you put Kat on this team? Like, she's not giving the stats to Starkiller, but she's giving the stats to herself and Kenobi, and she's already gaining all of the cool, unique stuff from Starkiller. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. We thought we'd
Yeah,
be a little silly here, but
the stat sharing on this team is incredible. I mean, Kenobi, his lead gives himself extra defense, extra health, and all that other good stuff. Kenobi is also getting 50% extra, stats from Cat, and he's getting extra stats from Starkiller. So there's like three, four different places that all these stats are coming from. Obviously, Starkiller is not going to be, doing basics as much as with a EP or Vader lead, or even Dooku, because Dooku counters so much. Starkiller tends to, build up his ultimate relatively fast with him as well. So obviously, he's not building up his ultimate fast, but this team is so survivable. There's all of these extra stats and health and protection and all that which is happening. There's a crit immunity which is in there. It can't be stunned. It can't be dazed. This team. There's and it's a ticking time bomb because Cat is going to go and annihilate someone if you're not able to take her out fast, and she's not easy to take out with both GK in there and Starkiller giving that extra boost in there. So Cat is one time bomb, and obviously Starkiller is another time bomb because he's going to bring the ship down.
yeah, so I have a really slow cat with a lot of health, and so her health and protection are going to be double, but that's before her unique is applied as well. So she's going to have a huge health pool and protection pool, and then
Yeah.
if you do decide to run the speed set, the speed build, like she's going to be well over 400 speed on her own to start things off, and so yeah, she's
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind is, even though you don't have Sith to do their basics and Starkiller to assist, you do have tons of other way that Starkiller can use his basic. General Kenobi can do retribution, which will allow Starkiller to do his basic and build up his ultimate stacks. General Kenobi can call an assist as well, which will again cause Starkiller to build up some more stacks. So there are ways that Starkiller can get to his ultimate. It's just not as fast as EP, but it's still deadly.
yeah. To be honest, I kind of expect I'm going to be keeping Starkiller for offense quite a bit, or half the time. But this team is just a fun,
It,
theoretical
yeah.
build, I
It's
guess.
an yeah, it's an interesting thought experiment, if not anything else.
Right? Yeah. I mean, probably something with like Thrawn is going to just shut it down pretty hard, but
Yeah.
maybe not. I mean, no one's stunning it. It's
Yeah.
no one's
Yeah.
dazing it. So then though that would free up theoretically, and a lot of people don't even have Starkiller yet, anyways. Frankly, so we're not even missing anything. The EP Mara team, and a lot of people are like, oh, you could just do a duo of them. But here's the thing about using just a duo that works in 5v5 because of the crazy turn meter they get from all of the debuffs on across 5 characters. Because there's only 3 characters that you're hitting with Mara Jade, she's not gaining full and complete turn meter every time. So you're gonna want a third character so that you can share the load a little bit, get that turn meter train going all the way.
Yeah. And I like TIE Fighter Pilot in there. He does, an AoE ability block, buff immunity, and he's pretty fast, which is great on this team. Little squishy, but, this team doesn't really need survivability. It needs speed and turn meter generation through debuffs, which is what these guys do well. Um, we consider Tarkin as well as a third. You can use any other Sith or other, Empire, which apply tons of debuffs. But the key to the team is definitely EP and Mara.
Yeah, I remember in 5v5, I took a bounty hunter team against a slower EP Mara team. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And, you shoot Star Killer because it seems so obvious. Like, okay, and now the threat's gone. And then I didn't get another turn after that. Like, I got a couple just random
Yeah,
other shots. And then EP Mara were like, hey, turn meter time, the train time. And they just killed my whole team. And it's like, the next time I took bounty hunters against the team, I shot Mara first with my disintegrate, and Starkiller's like, wait, what? But then I could actually like zerg him down after she
yeah.
was gone. So
Yeah.
That's
Another fun character to put on this team is Basti, Dark Basti.
oh
She's
dear Lord.
That's like probably overkill, but she's got like both
Yeah.
Mara and her have got like tons of turn of
Mm-hmm.
debuffs, which will just fuel Palp to no end.
No kidding. Yeah, I love that. And then you take like a Rex team, and everyone's got tenacity up, and they stop. They stall
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Okay, so we decided, and so all these teams are consistent with the ones on that we took on offense, and so Iden would really like Stormtrooper. Like she and Stormtrooper can really like duo a lot of squads, even in 5v5. But we still have Death Trooper and Shore Trooper, so this will be a good build, I think, for
It
Iden.
will, yeah, it will. I mean, Iden, Shore and Iden just sync so well together. Iden obviously gets 100% turn meter to start with, but when she does a special, Shore's unique also gives her 15% turn meter because, every time an Empire ally uses a special, they get turn meter with show present over there. So if your Iden is decently fast enough, there's a very high chance that you'll get two turns back to back just because Shore is present out there. So I like Shore in there, not just for the extra the pre-taunt, but also for the turn meter generation that he gives, and the crit immunity.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And Death Trooper, I mean, he
Yeah.
provides more DPS. The dispel, it's pretty good. I think I'm very curious to see what people start doing because we're gonna have to bow to the necessity of Wampa killing one team. Is it okay then for us to just okay, like I'll sacrifice Iden when that comes up, because
Mm.
Wampa will totally kill this and any other Iden
Yeah.
build.
Yeah. Yeah.
So um,
Ab-
I feel like this squad is one of those versatile. Like it can be on offense or defense.
yeah, absolutely. And you can use, not just Death Trooper, but even range, snow. There are tons of options
Yeah.
over here because we've got tons of troopers.
Yep. In 3v3, yeah, there's no shortage. I guess even Stark is available. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we decided to put Darth Revan on defense in the full bastard version, uh, even though you can acknowledge that this team is actually really good on offense because you can sometimes fragment it and split Darth Malak up to be able to solo a team, especially once, like in the 7 million bracket and below, you're going to be able to do that pretty consistently, I think. But so I thought you had a good point, those end all about why you want to put the full bastard team back on defense on its own.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this team, it a lot of people do like to take strong teams against it. If you go to the history, you'll find a lot of people taking GLs against it. And you if you don't put Malak in here and you just have Darth Revan and Basti and say you put Talon in there, that team is going to be taken out by Wampa. It's going to be taken out by maybe bounty hunters and other options pretty easily. By putting Darth Malak in there, you're forcing them to take to use a risky counter off meta counter or to put in to take in a GL against it. Even Gas, like because Gas has only got two supporting characters, not four. Even Gas is somewhat of a problem, especially if you've got high relic Sith Empire characters over here. So I think putting the full bastard Darth Revan team, especially if you've modded them right, it becomes even more trickier if you've got Darth Malak one speed more than Darth Revan. But even if you don't have that, this is a tricky team to place on defense because it forces your opponent to take a risk. If they decide to use a trooper counter, that's not 100%. That also can fail. You're basically forcing them to gamble, is what you're doing over here.
Yeah, gamble or spend something they don't want to spend.
Yeah. I mean, if Malik is not there, Wampa can take it out pretty easily. But by putting Malik in there, you're forcing them to take something good. Yeah.
Yep. Typically, you could kind of think of what Malak as your one character that's like Wampa proofing a
Yeah.
squad. Like
Yeah.
you're like, I really don't want Wampa to kill this team for whatever reason. I guess I'll throw
Yeah.
Malak in there. I guess keep
Yep.
DR for offense or something. Um, okay, so this is the team we always used to call GL Nute, and it's kind of lost a step. There were quite a few counters to it by the time we finished last season, and yet this is maybe the team that got the I don't know. I would be interested to know if they even have the stats to it, but I would not be surprised if there was a season or two that this was the team that got the most defensive holds
Mm.
other than Galactic Legends.
Yeah, not surprised because this team is very easy to underestimate. People look at Newt and say, "Oh wow, that won't be a big deal," but then you've got Jango in there with damage immunity and tons of offense, and you've got B1 who without General Grievous in there to steal stacks, B1 is just going to be uh, piling on stacks after stats after stacks, and
Yeah.
that makes him even more dangerous. So it's a team with tons of offense, tons of healing, and you've got a couple of lives for both Newt and Django, so it
Yeah.
can get tricky. It can get tricky.
Well, yeah, the thing I love about this team is you can't just come in with a big starting punch and expect to win because okay, you go in and you have something that one shots Newt. He just goes into stealth and he's still alive. Or you have that same hit go into Jango and it doesn't do anything because he's damage immune because he's got his contract for 2 turns. Or you go into B1 and you take out 8 stacks out of his 100, like he doesn't care.
Yeah,
So like the whole team just absorbs your initial barrage
yeah,
of damage, and then that they start the turn meter train. They start all the damage and the healing, and it's a nightmare.
yeah.
It's a true joy to watch people fail to this squad.
Yeah,
To be
it's
honest.
it's a great backwall team to have because especially if you're running low on teams, this is a very difficult team to zerg down with your leftover characters.
Sure. Well, and I similarly I like putting it up in the front because
Mm.
people get afraid. They're like,
And
I,
yeah,
I,
and they overkill. Yeah,
yeah, they don't want to get into a situation where they have to use like 5 or 6 teams to zerg down, or
yeah.
if they even can. Like the I've had my GAC history has instances of people hitting it with like 5 different like pretty good teams, and then finally killing it with a GL, and it's
Oh,
just like
that's so satisfying to see.
it's the most satisfying thing ever. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm glad I put that in the front zone this time. All right, so gosh, I Grievous is maybe the saddest character in threes. Like the transition from like Newt is
Yeah,
maybe the happiest because he goes from like, hey, I'm sometimes with Grievous and sometimes not, to like he's like the primary. You always put him on defense with something at least. Grievous, on the other hand, it's like I'd keep you on offense, but what do you even kill on offense?
yeah, yeah. I mean, Newt becomes from a regular character to a GL Newt, and Grievous becomes from a GL killer to a very easy to take out character because Grievous is so great in 5v5 on offense, can take out at least 2 GLs pretty consistently, C and Sith Eternal and JML. He can take out so many tough squads like EPS, Starkiller, CLS, and then in threes, he's just useless on offense and pretty easy to take out on defense as well. So not many options over here.
Yeah, so like basically just put him with 2 droids, and I guess like Magna Guard and B2 they're fine, but I mean they're
Yeah,
all
I
gonna
mean,
be slow, so they're gonna just
yeah,
target B2 right away, and
yeah. I mean, we've got IG-88 in here just because if you've got the Zeta, there's tons of target lock synergy because you prevent. Is it turn meter generation or healing for IG-88 on target locks? I think
healing.
it's
Yeah, you
healing.
prevent.
Healing,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. And Grievous puts out tons of target locks as well. And there's a ton of target lock synergy, but it can be taken out easily with Night Sisters, even in 3v3s. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had one season where I tried to do a different counter to General Grievous every match, so I think I ended up with 12 different counters. So,
Wow.
you know, yeah, it's just like everything kills Grievous in threes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, kind of sad. So this is a team that you thought of, Endall, and I
Yeah.
like this. I liked your reasoning
Yeah.
because because I've been wondering where Talon's gonna be,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah. So the idea behind this team is Dooku is one of the fastest Sith out there. It's very easy to get him 300, 310, 315 speed. Talon gives another 20 speed. So, it's very possible that you have a 330, 340 speed Dooku to start with. He goes into stealth. Talon starts in stealth as well, and you've got Nest out in the open to that your enemy team has to attack. And and in the background, both Dooku and Talon are creating havoc. There's Shock, there's ability block. Both of them, both Dooku and Talon, have got ability block on their basic, which which creates problems for the enemy team, especially in a 3v3 situation. If you're ability block, if you can't use specials, then you're in big trouble. And all the while, there's Nest, who's generating damage and is in general a tough team to take out. Nest requires a specific counter that you need to take in for taking it out. And if you've got two other characters hiding in stealth around Nest, then it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it can be. Nest in 3v3 is a whole different animal. Honestly, I like throwing her in there because in fives you can usually just throw in one character that you're like, okay, this is. I'll throw in like Death Trooper, and that'll be the way I kill Nest or whatever.
Yeah.
But in threes, the slots are so limited. Trying to take out a Nest, you're gonna have to tailor your team for it. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this team does. Actually, I'm excited. So. Gosh, all right. So a couple standard teams here. First, we've got Hux, and trying to like we were saying before, be consistent with all the other teams that we used for the offensive builds. This Hux team, I mean, I feel like for a while people were really afraid of Hux, and then at some point, like no one was. It was such a bizarre thing.
Yeah, yeah. Typically, this team has got Red Trooper in there, but this team has been solved. I mean, you these days, especially with the newer characters, you've got so many characters who are so fast, who apply tons of debuffs and who are able to control really well, that the Hux team is really not much of a problem. I mean, even if you take in the Bad Batch characters, even though you
Yep.
take three of them, Hunter, Echo, and Tech, your Echo is going to be faster than anything that the Hux team will have, and you
Oh
immediately
yeah.
go dispel the debuffs, stun everyone, control them, and can take it out pretty easily. Any combination of Hux team, you basically don't allow them to take a single turn. Bam, IG Quill can do a decent job against them. So it's been solved, but it can cause some problems if you don't have the right characters.
Yeah, Thridian works. I think some Night Sister builds work. Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, like you say, it's been solved.
Yep.
This is also you can take. Oh man, what was the team that can solo this team? Actually, I forget now. Um, Maybe it's just Malak. Malak solos this as well. He might have more problems against an OG Kylo.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
though,
That's
though,
right.
to be honest, I think Malak still kills it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, this Asajj team, man, this is one of my favorite Night
Yeah.
Sister builds, and we actually don't have a build that uses Talzin and Daka. Even though in threes, that one of my very favorite things is you can actually stun lock your entire team. Like that's a valid strategy. In fives, it's a little too much of a hassle to try to stun lock all five characters, but in threes, like Daka just double stuns a lot of
Yeah.
times. So we don't even have a build with that on our list, but just in favor of this Asajj team.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Asajj lead is so undervalued. I mean, Talzin is definitely more popular in 5v5, but in 3v3, I think Asajj is the superior lead. Asajj and Zombie, they can do some nasty things together because you need to essentially take in a character with a permakill like Jango or Boba or Nihilus or someone like that, or you need to be able to control them really, really effectively. There's so much of turn meter generation which happens every time they fall below 100% health, and Zombie keeps doing that all the time. So it's almost impossible to get Zombie into negative stats. And then you've got Spirit over there doing tons of damage as well in the background, sniping people left, right, and center. I like to sometimes I used to like to use Nute instead of Spirit in there, and that team also creates havoc. Just Asajj, Zombie, and Nute. But Spirit is such a great character as well, and especially under Asajj lead, where she gets that extra offense and all that. It's a nightmare to face as well if you don't have the right characters.
Yeah, but I especially love like Night Sister Spirit. People underestimate her. Like give her some kind of a damage modding set, and
Yeah,
she is just she goes to town. It's
yeah.
super fun to watch her be able to like one shot really big characters. Like she can do a ton of damage to even GLs because it ignores
Oh yeah,
armor.
exactly.
It's amazing. So
And
that
there's
that
not
team surprises people.
Yeah, and there's not just turn meter generation in this team because of the Asajj lead and dropping below 100% health, but also turn meter removal because Asajj's lead removes turn meter irresistible, just like Vader lead. Whenever they do damage, and Night Sister Spirit removes turn meter on a basic. So that's another way of control.
Yep, absolutely. Um, all right, so we're down to our last two teams. So Fin Poe, this team has been solved as well. This used to be like the best team on defense. And so people would always use like Wedge Han Chu, and this was the social contract team. This is what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like. Everyone placed this on defense, and then everyone used Wedge Han Chewie to take this out. But now, I mean, especially now, people have been slowing down their resistance hero Finn, and even if they don't, like troopers take this out. Tons of teams. Like I've
yeah,
used Basti Cam. I've used
yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think Bow Candy Armor also takes the sound pretty effectively. We've got some people use Night Sisters as well, especially if you've got a fast spirit. So yeah, tons of options against this team.
Right. So, I mean, that being said, it's still, especially at the lower levels, it is pretty strong still. And if you really don't want to get killed by some of these builds, like there are other builds then that take advantage or that'll beat you if you don't do this. But you take Finn out, the leader out, and you just put Nest in there. And I know we put Nest
Mm.
on a different team. Like Nest with the Hero Bros will stop troopers at the very least.
And Han Chui as well.
Yes, unless they can one shot your Nest if she's low enough relic.
Yeah,
But yeah, I like one thing about threes is I do like my non-leadership builds every once in a while.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you don't always need a lead. So finally, and this team is just a throw in. Like this is just like a nod to the idea that we're going to be building a lot of just weird teams because we have a lot of leftovers. And so like Boba does dots, damage over times. Mission and Zaalbar do damage over time, and then
yeah.
Boba does his execute with a ton, on a ton of stacks.
Yeah, yeah. And this team generates so many debuffs, all those dots and dazes and all that. So
Yep.
that gives plenty of ammunition for Boba to do his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the very best team out there for real, but at the same time, I mean, if you just decide to throw in a casual, just like whatever team, this team will mess with you in a big way because the passive taunt, the daze, the blind, Boba will just nuke your face. Uh, you know, ability block. It's 3v3 is a strange kind of magical world.
Yep, yep.
So, all right, we're at the end of our list here, Endall. So, why don't we sign off? But before that, are there any words of wisdom from you on the defensive end of 3v3?
I think the only thing I would say is set uniformly tough defenses, and we've reinforced this message before as well. But don't give any out to your opponent. Make them pay for every mistake that they make. If they drop a battle on any one of your characters, that should have really bad consequences throughout your defense just because you've kept such a uniformly tough defense. So I'm a big fan of tough defenses, especially with given the fact that since the last 3v3, so many new characters have been added, so many new offensive options have been added. You won't be able to stop a full clear if you go medium to light defense. You won't be able to even prevent a battle being dropped. You have to go hard defense in 3v3 as opposed to 5v5 because that's the only way you can force your opponent to make mistakes.
Yep, absolutely agree. That you got to commit to your defense if you want that to work. Otherwise, you can go efficiency. That's what we're going to see a lot in that first week or two. But in my opinion, that's a lot more stressful, a lot less fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, Endall, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. It's
Great to be
always a
here.
pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here.
So, guys, go do yourselves a favor. Go sub Endall. His links in the video description, and we'll have a video over on his site here in a little bit as well. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Gambit prevails. Take care, guys.